Hello, and you're watching News 9's Crime Special with me, Deepak. Ever so often, in Wanted, we show you how cops manage to crack impossible cases. But this one will leave you surprised. The cops have clearly failed in doing their job. This has also resulted in punishing an innocent man as well. Yes, you heard that right. Now, to understand about what we are talking about, you need to take a look at this story.
Bengaluru is the city of dreams for many who come in search of a better life. Soon, many realize that life in the IT hub of India is not so easy. People get into the vicious cycle of borrowing money and paying EMIs. Soon, they realize that they are neck deep in debt. Before we tell you why we are stressing so much on debt and crimes related to it, take a look at this man. This is 30-year-old Venkatesh. Venkatesh, who originally hails from Mysuru, came to Bengaluru a few years ago. He got married to a woman from Mysuru. This is his wife, 21-year-old Arpita. Arpita and Venkatesh got married in 2016 and have a 1-year-old child. The couple decided to move to Bengaluru, hoping for a better life. Venkatesh, who worked as a cab driver, thought he could make good money and that they could retire early. So they shifted to the big city from Mysuru. Venkatesh got a job as a driver and life was going well for the couple. But Venkatesh wasn't happy with a good life. He wanted to make it big. He wanted to own his own fleet of cabs. His wife was equally ambitious. She too wanted her husband to be rich. So they procured a loan of 10 lakh rupees and bought their first cab. This was to be the first of many cabs in their fleet, but things did not go as planned for the couple. They were unable to pay the high interest rates on the car, and soon they had defaulted on their EMI payments. Things were not looking good for this couple, but the two of them had decided that they would make it big in life irrespective of the situation they were in. And they did manage to get out of debt. So, how did they do it? Double murder! Yes, one look at this couple and you would never imagine that they are capable of murder. But think again, because as we tell you the story, your first impressions of this couple will change. Soon you will realize that they are the most cold-blooded couple you may have ever seen. So, what did they do? October 16, 2019. Mahadevapura. You may be looking at the commotion here and wondering what happened. Two people were murdered here on the 16th of October. Chandregowda and Lakshmama were residents of Garudacharpalya in Mahadevapura. They had been killed and the cops were alerted about the situation when their maid noticed that there was a break-in and there was blood on the floor. The Mahadevapura cops rushed to the crime scene when they got the call. It did not take the cops a long time to identify the couple. The cops asked their neighbors for details about them. That is when they found that 63-year-old Chandre Gowda and 55-year-old Lakshmamma lived alone as they had no children. The couple had adopted a daughter from one of their relatives and had taken good care of her. They had even got her married off a few years ago and were now living alone in Garudachar Palya. But the couple was murdered on the 16th. Chandre Gowda, who was a retired employee of a factory, had many properties to his name. They had their own house and also many properties back in his village. Clearly, they were well off. They lived on the ground floor of the building they owned and had rented the other houses above theirs. The cops swept the house to collect any evidence that they could from the crime scene. They noticed that whoever had killed the couple had searched the victim's house. They noticed that one of the lockers had been opened forcibly and the contents of the locker had been stolen. The jewelry that Lakshmamma wore was intact. The cops were confused. If someone had broken in to rob them, why would they leave the woman's gold chain behind? The cops thought that the killers may have stolen the valuables to make it look like a robbery while they were actually looking for something else. The cops did not reveal details at the time, but collected evidence to ensure they hadn't missed out on anything. Another team of cops started checking for CCTV cameras around the area. The cops had to go above and beyond to crack the case because the killers hadn't left any clues behind. All they had left behind was a modus operandi that was very similar. Yes, the cops got data on all such similar crimes. They were trying to look for a pattern that would tie the killers down to this crime. It was a laborious process for the cops, but this was their only way to nab the killers. The CCTV footage, the modus operandi, the call records of the elderly couple would eventually help them find the killers. And we can tell you for a fact that the killers were Venkatesh and Arpita. But you must have guessed this by now. But if you thought this was the only murder the couple had committed, you are wrong. This couple has several cases against them. It is just that they got caught in this one. And when the cops caught them and questioned them, they confessed to their other crimes. How they found each of their targets will shock you. How they mercilessly killed each of them will make you cringe. Why they did it and the logic behind their killing spree may look like they were helpless. But in reality, killing was their passion. Committing the perfect crime was a matter of pride for them. The couple discussed the plot of the perfect crimes every day. Not only did they pull off the perfect crimes, they planted evidence in such a way that other people went to jail for their crimes. What is the story behind this serial killing couple? How did the cops put a break on them?
In the first part of this special episode, we told you about Venkatesh and Arpita, the serial killer couple. We also told you how the cops missed their mark and sent an innocent man to jail. How did the cops miss their mark and what is the story behind this psychopathic couple? Take a look to find out.
Look at this couple. They are the killer couple of the year. Their story is horrific. They not only killed their victims for gain, but for pleasure too. Yes, this psychotic couple found pleasure in killing elderly people and getting away without getting caught. Venkatesh loved watching crime movies. He wanted to commit the perfect crime after watching several movies. He got his wife involved in it too. And soon the couple started enjoying what they were doing. At first, they started murdering elderly couples who were rich to pay back their loans. But soon they realized that they enjoyed killing. They planted false evidence to throw the investigations off. It was only when they got caught in the murder case of Chandregowda and Lakshmamma in Mahadevapura that they confessed to their other crimes. According to their confession, they killed to repay their debts. But soon they realized that their crimes were a way of making easy money. They targeted elderly couples without children because they felt that they were easy targets. Besides, if they didn't have children, what was their purpose of living? Why would they need money, gold or property if they were not going to pass it on to the next generation? So how exactly did they find each of their victims? It turns out that the couple was very social. They attended almost everyone's wedding and housewarming ceremonies. When they went to these events, they would look for elderly couples who did not have children. They would gauge how rich they were by looking at the clothes and the jewelry they were wearing. Once they had found their target, they would talk them up and get close to them. They would get their address, ask them when they could visit them, and plan their next crime accordingly. The poor couples would have no clue that they would end up dead. And this was the perfect modus operandi for them. No one would suspect that they were the killers unless they made a mistake and left behind some incriminating evidence. But both Venkatesh and Arpita watched several movies and knew how to get away without getting caught. One of their sensational murders even got another man sent to jail. Yes, you heard that right. One innocent man went to jail because of their crime. To understand how this couple operated, it is important to tell you the story from Mandya. July 19th, 2019, Mandya. This is 50-year-old Lalitamma and this is her 53-year-old husband Gundegowda. The two got married more than 25 years back, but they did not have any children. But that wasn't a problem for them. They were happy with each other and often kept to themselves. They were simple people too. Gundegowda worked as a daily wage worker when it was harvest season, but otherwise he stayed around the small plot that his family owns. Lalitamma used to do her household chores. You would say life as peaceful for them in an age when they should have retired. But destiny had other plans for them. That is because they were killed. We have blurred these visuals because they are too gory. But we can tell you for a fact that when their bodies were found, they were semi-decomposed. In fact, the only reason their bodies were found was because of the smell. This is Gundegowda's mother. She came to visit her son on the 19th of July. She saw that the door had been locked from the outside. She smelled something fishy inside the house. She, being old, called out to some villagers and asked them to break open the door. As soon as they broke the door open, they found Gundegowda lying in a pool of blood. Nobody even dared to enter the house, which was full of blood and smelled foul. But even as the cops were called in, the people in the village started asking about Lalitamma. They wanted to know where she was. It was only when the cops came to the crime scene did they find Lalitamma's body inside the house too. Who could have done such a thing and why? That was the question on everybody's mind. The cops asked Gundegowda's mother everything that she knew. That is when she told the cops that she had been coming to the house for a whole week, but she noticed that the doors were locked from outside and thought the couple had gone out of station. On the 19th of July, they broke the doors open because they smelled something foul. The smell of the decomposing bodies prompted the cops to think that the couple was killed more than a week ago. The cops then called in the dog squad and the forensic team to collect crucial evidence from the crime scene, but the killers had left no clues behind. The dog squad could not do anything because the murders had taken place more than a week ago. The cops knew they were in for a fix. Someone had plotted the perfect crime. They had to crack the case at the earliest because thousands of people gathered near the crime scene and the double murder was the talk of the town. Some residents of the Raya Samudra village even claimed that they were scared to leave their homes knowing that there was a killer on the loose. But what was worse was that the killer had killed 2 people inside their own homes, so people did not feel safe in their homes either. The cops decided that they were going to take up the case on priority and nab the killers soon. They started asking Gundegowda's family if they had been having troubles with anyone, maybe some financial deals or even a personal enmity angle. But the family insisted that the couple kept to themselves and that they were simple people who did not wish for anything that they could not afford. The cops did not know where to start their investigation. The family told them that the couple did not have any trouble, but the cops could not believe it. The cops studied the bodies further. They found that the killer had struck both of them with a blunt object and killed them. For someone to kill so gory, they thought hate must have been a huge motivating factor. So is it possible that the family had something that the killers wanted? The cops thought if someone got the couple killed over property. After all, property disputes are among one of the biggest reasons for people to get murdered, especially in rural areas. The cops also searched the couple's home to see if dacoits had a role to play in the murder, but they could not find any evidence to suggest that it was a murder for robbery. And soon, the cops received the autopsy reports. The report suggested that the couple was killed on the 12th of July due to a blunt force trauma. The cops had no clues, so they wanted to ask the neighbors if they had heard anything. That is when they went to this man's house. This is 37-year-old Yogesh. Yogesh was not at home, so they questioned his wife. They thought her alibi was not solid, but they did not let her know that they suspected her husband. Instead, they got her phone records. They realized that she had been getting calls from an unknown number which was registered in Bengaluru. That is when they suspected that her husband may be the killer. When he did not return for more than a week after the murder, they were convinced that he was the killer. They traced the phone from which he was calling his wife and managed to nab him in Bengaluru. He then confessed to the whole crime. But here is where things get really sketchy. Yogesh was already in jail for the crime. The Mandya cops had got a confession from him. But when the Mahadevapura cops were investigating the case of Chandregowda and Lakshmamma, Arpita and Venkatesh confessed to their other crimes. And the cops found that one of them was a murder in Mandya. The Mahadevapura cops did not know that the Mandya murder case had been cracked. It was only when they called the Mandya cops that they realized that another man was already serving a jail sentence in the case from July 2019. News 9 had reported on the case from July 2019, and our correspondents caught the fact that a man was already serving a jail sentence in the case. If it wasn't for News 9, the cops would have never accepted the fact that they had made a huge mistake. While the cops are yet to clarify the details of the double murder in 2019, it is clear that the cops have not done a thorough job and presented an innocent man as an accused. Our correspondents in Mandya tried to get a statement from them, but notice how the cops refuse to acknowledge their mistake.
ರಾಯಸಮುದ್ರ ಕೊಲೆ ಪ್ರಕರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಜನ ಆರೋಪಿಗಳು ದಸ್ತಗಿರಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮಹದೇವಪುರ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ 2 ಜನ ಆರೋಪಿಗಳನ್ನು ದಸ್ತಗಿರಿ ಮಾಡಿದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅಧಿಕೃತ ದಾಖಲೆಗಳು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಂದ ನಂತರ ನಾವು ಆ ಪ್ರಕರಣದ ತನಿಖೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಕಾನೂನು ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
The details of the cases have not been revealed to the media yet, but it is quite clear how the cops operate. Is it possible that they made a mistake that they are now regretting? How could they send a man to jail if he was innocent? While the Mahadevapura cops have done a good job in finding the killers in the double murder case, they have also exposed their colleagues in Mandya. How did the goof up happen? Only a thorough probe into the investigation team's intentions will let us know. The cops should be scrutinized and an appropriate action must be taken against those who have closed the case based on false evidence. It must also be investigated to see if Yogesh had confessed under duress. News 9 will bring to you all the details in this case and ensure that the lapse, if any, will be addressed by the concerned authorities. You have already seen how good the cops are at doing their job. So if you value your life, you are the only ones who can safeguard it. So stay alert, stay safe. A News 9 report.